Let's go ahead and look at two different ways that we can write equations with our given information. Recall that our slope can be found between 2 points using that formula that I just boxed in yellow. So one of the ways that we can write an equation is in point slope form, which looks like what you're seeing here. So the places that I highlighted, those are replaced with numbers. So n will be your slope, y sub 1, x sub 1 will be a point on that line. And then we have the basic one, which is slope-intercept form. This one's the one that you guys are very familiar with. And this is easy when we're trying to graph an equation. M is our slope again, and B is our y-intercept. So we're going to go ahead and play around with these two different forms. We're going to go from one form, convert it to the other form, and then finally graph. So let's go ahead and look at the information that we have here. We know that we want to write an equation. Our equation is going to start in point slope form. And is going to have a slope of -3. And we know that it's going to pass through the point -1, comma 7. So our line should have a slope of -3, which means it's going to be decreasing. And it has to go through that point that was highlighted there. And then once it's in point slope form, we're going to go ahead and rearrange it so that we can turn it into slope intercept form because that's the easiest one to use to graph. And then finally, we're going to go ahead and graph and check that our line does have a slope of -3 and it's going to go through that point -1, comma 7. So I'm going to go ahead and break it down into 3 steps. The first step is that we're going to go ahead and substitute our values for y sub 1, for m, and x sub 1. So let me go ahead and rewrite our point slope format here. And then I'm going to go ahead and highlight the 3 items that will be substituted with values. So on here, our m is -3 because that's our slope, and our x sub 1 will be -1, our y sub 1 will be 7. Everything else in the equation remains as it is. So all your minus signs, your equal signs, your parentheses, those are just brought down or rewritten. And be careful here because the original form has a minus sign. So if the number that comes after that minus sign is negative, make sure that you're still including that negative symbol for that number, like we see here with -1. And then technically we can leave it like that up, but I'm going to clean it up a little bit. We have a double negative there, which is going to turn it into +1. So that's all we do for step number 1. We just substitute those values in. Now remember, our goal is to make it or transform it into slope-intercept form, which means there's no parentheses in point slope-intercept form. So we're going to go ahead and distribute m, which is our slope, so that it looks like that form there, y equals mx plus b. Notice how there's no parentheses there. So let's go ahead and grab this equation here, rewrite it, and then we're going to distribute that -3. Distributing means that we're going to multiply that -3 to our 2 terms inside of the parentheses. That's it for step number 2. And it's almost looking like y equals mx plus b. There's still just one more thing that we need to do. Notice how our y is isolated. It's the only term on that side of the equal sign. So then our last step would be to isolate y. I'm going to go ahead and grab that equation once again. And the plan here to isolate our y would be to undo minus 7. So to undo it, we're going to go ahead and add 7 to both sides. So finally, y is isolated. And we have our equation in slope-intercept form. So we have two equivalent equations here. That one right there, which is y equals negative 3x plus 4, and that's in slope-intercept form. And if we look back at step number 1, that equation there, y minus 7 equals negative 3 parentheses x plus 1, that's in point slope form. So those two equations are exactly the same line, but they're written differently. So very last thing we have to do here is we're going to check our two equations graphically. So let's go ahead and graph it in this form since we're very familiar with graphing there. So we start with our y-intercept, which is 4. Our slope is negative 3. Remember that line is going to be decreasing. So our slope will tell us how to move. We'll make it a fraction since we need to go right and left. So we're going to go down 3 times to the right once. So our starting point is always on the y-axis because it's your y-intercept. So my y-intercept is 4, and I'm going to start moving according to my slope, which is going down 3 times to the right once. And I'm going to keep following that pattern until I run out of space. The more points you have on your line, the more accurate your line will be. So here's my line, is decreasing as we had said earlier. And then I'm just going to check that it has a slope of negative 3. It does. It goes down 3 times to the right once. And it is going to have to go through that point that was given in the problem, which is negative 1 and 7. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that point on my line to verify that it did go through that point. And there we go. We started with point slope form. We converted that to slope intercept form.